Every time I touch money, whether it is a single coin, a note, or a digital number in my account, I remember, this is divine substance in visible form. I speak now, you are blessed. You go forth to bless, and you return to me increased 1,000-fold. I give thanks for this money, knowing that it multiplies in perfect ways. I see it flowing out in joy and returning to me richly, easily, and endlessly. When I pay for something, I affirm, there is always more from where this came from. My supply is limitless, and I move in an ever-widening river of abundance. When I receive money, I declare, I am open to receive, and I accept this with gratitude and grace. My wealth grows daily, effortlessly, and harmoniously. I let go of every thought of fear or lack. I remember that the same power that created worlds flows through me and guides my finances. I honor money, but I do not worship it. I see it as a tool, a servant of my higher purpose, and I use it wisely and generously. With every word I speak over my money, I bless it. With every thought, I multiply it. And so, my wealth expands in divine order under grace in miraculous ways. Every word you speak when you handle money carries a hidden creative power, a force that shapes your financial destiny in ways often unseen but profoundly felt. Words are not empty sounds, they are seeds planted deep within the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Just as a seed, once planted, takes root and grows according to its nature, the words you speak about your finances take root and grow into your lived reality. Imagine for a moment that every time you touch money, you are given an opportunity to sow a new seed, to decide consciously whether that seed will bear fruits of abundance or scarcity. It may seem like a small thing, almost too simple to matter, but in the subtle realms where thoughts become things and feelings become form, the smallest word can carry the greatest creative force. When you say, I never have enough, you plant a seed of lack that blossoms into more experiences of shortage. When you say, money always slips through my fingers, you reinforce a cycle where money indeed seems to vanish just as quickly as it arrives. Yet, when you choose to speak words of blessing, words of increase, you plant seeds of prosperity that must, by spiritual law, return to you multiplied. The subconscious mind cannot help but respond to these seeds. It does not judge or question them, it simply accepts and acts upon them, bringing into your experience the harvest that matches what you have sown. This is why your words, especially those spoken in moments of transaction or when you hold money in your hands, are of extraordinary importance. Money, though it appears material, carries with it a spiritual essence, a subtle vibration that responds to the energy you project. When you touch money with worry, fear, or resentment, you charge it with those vibrations, and it tends to bring back more of the same into your life. But when you hold it with gratitude, bless it, and speak words of love and faith over it, you transform it into a magnet for more blessings. This simple act of speaking consciously turns every encounter with money into a sacred moment of creation. It becomes an active affirmation of abundance, a living prayer that your subconscious mind hears and obeys. It is easy to underestimate the power of a single phrase whispered as you place money into your wallet, or as you send a payment online, but each of these moments is a choice point, a chance to affirm either faith or fear. Consider how many times each day you touch money, think about it, or move it from one place to another. Each of these moments is a new opportunity to plant seeds of wealth and expansion. Over time, these small acts accumulate. Just as a garden planted carefully each season yields an ever-increasing harvest, the words you speak consistently create an ever-expanding experience of prosperity. This practice also serves to retrain your mind. Many of us grew up hearing limiting beliefs about money, words of worry, criticism, or even disdain. Those old seeds may have rooted deeply, shaping financial patterns that seem hard to break. But by deliberately choosing new words, words of blessing, gratitude, and faith, you begin to uproot those weeds of lack and plant fresh seeds of abundance. Your subconscious, faithful servant that it is, will eventually accept this new pattern and work tirelessly to manifest it in your life. And so, every time you handle money, pause and remember the creative power in your words. Speak blessings over every coin and note. Say, "You are blessed, go forth and return to me multiplied." Feel the truth of those words as you say them. Know that in that moment, you are not merely speaking to paper and metal. You are speaking to the living current of abundance itself. With each blessing spoken, you weave a new reality, a reality where wealth flows to you effortlessly, consistently, and in ever-increasing measure. Through this daily practice, your words become living seeds, and your life becomes their rich and miraculous harvest. Money, at first glance, seems nothing more than metal, paper, or numbers on a screen, an object born of human invention to measure value and facilitate exchange. Yet when you look deeper, you discover it carries something far more profound, the imprint of an unseen, boundless spiritual substance that flows through everything in the universe. Money becomes powerful and responsive, not because of its physical form, but because it represents, channels, and expresses this divine substance. When you see it only as hard currency, you limit your relationship with it. When you see it as spiritual energy made visible, your relationship transforms from one of fear and control into one of respect and cooperation. Every time you touch money, you are, in truth, coming into contact with a spark of infinite abundance. Recognizing this, you naturally begin to handle it with care and gratitude rather than tension or resentment. To speak to money as divine substance is to affirm its higher nature. This is not an empty ritual, but a living recognition that everything visible springs from the invisible. Money, then, is a conduit of good, a servant of your greater purpose, and it responds to the vibration of the thoughts and words you hold around it. If you treat it as something dirty, limited, or shameful, you cloud its energy. You create blocks and barriers that slow or even reverse the flow of prosperity into your life. But when you honor it, bless it, and see it as part of the universal abundance meant for all, it begins to respond with generosity, opening new avenues and unexpected blessings. Imagine for a moment that every coin, note, or digital amount is surrounded by an invisible field of energy. This energy is shaped by the consciousness of the person who handles it. If someone touches it with fear or curses it with words of lack, that energy grows heavy and stagnant. But when you handle it with love, gratitude, and the recognition of its divine source, that energy becomes vibrant and magnetic. Money touched by blessing carries that blessing into circulation, touching others and eventually returning to you, often increased and bearing gifts of its journey. Seeing money as divine substance also releases the deep fear of running out. If you believe that money's origin is purely material, it seems logical to fear scarcity. After all, material resources appear finite. But when you recognize that every note and every opportunity flows from an inexhaustible spiritual source, you begin to rest in a quiet faith that your supply is endless. You stop gripping and hoarding out of fear and instead trust that as you spend or give, the divine substance flows back to you in new and often unexpected ways. This faith does not mean recklessness. It means acting with trust rather than fear, guided by inner wisdom rather than panic. Every transaction, then, becomes a spiritual act, a conversation with the universe. When you pay a bill, you can silently affirm, "This money is divine substance. It blesses all it touches and returns to me multiplied." When you receive money, you can say, "This, too, is divine substance flowing into my life. I am grateful and open to more." Over time, these affirmations shift your subconscious mind's programming from worry and scarcity to trust and abundance. This new pattern reshapes your experience, drawing to you opportunities, ideas, and connections you might never have imagined. To see money as divine substance is to see yourself as a channel through which abundance flows. You stop seeing yourself merely as a consumer or accumulator, and instead recognize that you are a steward, entrusted with divine substance to use wisely, joyfully, and generously. This mindset brings a gentle but profound transformation. It lifts the weight of fear, replaces it with the lightness of gratitude, and opens your life to receive more, not just more money, but more peace, creativity, and fulfillment. By speaking words that affirm the divine nature of money, you call forth that truth into your daily reality, and little by little your outer world aligns with this deeper spiritual knowing. Before you engage in any transaction, whether you are about to pay a bill, hand over cash at the market, transfer money online, or even drop coins into a charity box, there is a sacred pause you can take. In this brief moment, you speak words that direct the unseen energy of money and set it to work for your highest good. This is not about superstition, it is about conscious intention. Words have the power to shape your reality, and when spoken with faith, they guide the creative force of your subconscious mind. Each transaction becomes more than an exchange of currency. It becomes an act of spiritual alignment, an affirmation that you live in a universe where your needs are met. Your supply is abundant, and your wealth expands continually. Imagine standing at the threshold of each transaction holding a key. This key is the word you choose to speak. If you say, even silently, "I can't afford this," you lock the door to new supply. If you say, "Money flows easily and returns multiplied," you unlock streams of prosperity that move toward you. It is in these small, ordinary moments, paying for groceries, settling a bill, or tipping someone for good service, that you shape the larger pattern of your financial life. The cumulative effect of these affirmations builds a foundation of abundance in your subconscious mind, which in turn attracts circumstances, people, and opportunities that reflect this inner belief. Before giving money, you can say, "This money blesses everyone it touches and returns to me multiplied." Before receiving money, you might affirm, "I gratefully accept this gift of divine substance. My supply is unlimited." These phrases may feel awkward at first, but with repetition, they begin to feel natural and powerful. The words themselves carry your intention deep into the subconscious, which never argues, doubts, or analyzes. It simply accepts what you repeatedly impress upon it and then works tirelessly to make it true in your lived experience. When you turn every transaction into an affirmation, you also dissolve the old pattern of unconscious spending driven by fear or guilt. Instead of feeling anxious about parting with money, you feel gratitude that you have money to give. Instead of feeling undeserving when receiving, you accept with grace, knowing that your openness to receive keeps the flow of abundance alive. Money then becomes not a source of stress but a tool of love and service, a visible means through which you participate in the universal exchange of good. Consider what happens energetically when you approach transactions this way. Rather than money slipping silently through your hands, it carries with it a charge of blessing and gratitude. This vibration, subtle but real, moves outward into the world, touching others who in turn respond in ways that bring blessings back to you. Your subconscious mind, ever obedient, gathers evidence to confirm your spoken words. New sources of income appear, debts are settled in surprising ways, and opportunities that seemed unlikely come into view. Over time, what began as a simple habit of affirming becomes a deep trust in the abundance that surrounds you. This practice is also an antidote to fear. Fear of lack often surfaces when we spend money. By deliberately affirming faith before every transaction, you gently but firmly retrain your mind to expect enough and more than enough. Each bill paid becomes a reminder that you live in a universe where supply is constant, not limited. Each gift given affirms your role as both giver and receiver in the divine flow. You find yourself more at peace with money, less reactive, and more creative in finding new ways to allow abundance into your life. The power of affirming before every transaction lies not in the words alone, but in the consistency of the practice. It is through repetition that new neural pathways form and new beliefs take root. Eventually, the act of blessing and affirming becomes automatic, as natural as breathing. Your outer circumstances, reflecting the richness of your inner pattern, begin to mirror this faith. What was once a routine act of paying or receiving money becomes a daily ritual of creation, gratitude, and expansion. And quietly, steadily, you discover that your wealth does indeed grow, not by chance, but by the deliberate power of words spoken with intention and trust. When you spend money, it is easy to feel a quiet anxiety tugging at your mind, a small fear that what you give out may not come back, or that you might be left with less than you need. This fear is deeply ingrained in many people because we are taught from childhood to see money as something finite, something that once gone is forever lost. Yet this fear is an illusion born of forgetting the spiritual truth. Money is energy, and energy flows in cycles of giving and receiving. The act of spending or giving money is not an end but a continuation of a divine circulation. To consciously release money with words of blessing and faith is to set it free to do good in the world and to return to you multiplied, carrying with it new gifts, opportunities, and unexpected abundance. Imagine for a moment that money is like water in a stream. If you try to dam it up entirely, the water becomes stagnant and lifeless, and eventually it seeps away or turns foul. But when you allow it to flow outward, it remains fresh, vibrant, and alive. The same is true of money. The flow must continue. Giving, spending, and even paying bills are not acts of loss, but of participation in this sacred current. Each time you release money consciously, you affirm your trust in the endless source from which it came. This trust dissolves fear, and your words of blessing set the money on a journey that inevitably circles back to you. Before spending, you might silently affirm, "I send this money forth to bless everyone it touches, and to return to me richly increased." This is not superstition. It is an intentional act that impresses your subconscious mind with the expectation of continued supply. The subconscious, faithful and literal, accepts this new pattern and begins to shape your external reality to match it. You may find that after practicing this, money does return to you from surprising sources. A refund you didn't expect, a new client, an unexpected bonus, or simply opportunities that bring greater prosperity into your life. It is also important to see giving not as a depletion but as a statement of abundance. When you give freely and joyfully, whether it is to charity, to friends, or even a generous tip, you declare to yourself and to the universe that you believe in more than enough. This belief becomes a magnet, attracting more of what you affirm. Fearful or reluctant giving, on the other hand, sends the message of scarcity and reinforces the subconscious idea that supply is limited. The energy behind your giving matters as much as the act itself. Give with love and faith, and what returns to you will carry that same loving vibration. When you spend on necessities like food, housing, or utilities, you can transform those payments into affirmations of gratitude and abundance. Instead of resenting a bill, you can say, "I am grateful to have the means to pay for this, and as I release this money, it blesses the service and returns to me multiplied." In this way, even mundane transactions become moments of spiritual practice, turning fear into faith and routine into ritual. Over time, this habit creates a profound inner shift. You begin to see yourself not as someone constantly losing money, but as a steward of a continuous living flow. Money comes and goes, but the source behind it is infinite, and you are always connected to that source. The fear of running out starts to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence that what you need will appear at the right time, and often in ways you could not have planned. When you release money with love and faith, you also release the tight grip of control that often causes stress. You move into a place of trust, where you recognize that your well-being does not depend solely on the money you now possess, but on the infinite creative power that supplies all your needs. Your words become bridges between the invisible and the visible, guiding the flow of abundance into your life. This is not about denying practical financial responsibility, but about transforming the energy with which you handle money. By blessing money as it leaves and expecting its return, you keep the river of prosperity flowing freely, and in this open, trusting state, your wealth expands naturally, gracefully, and often miraculously. And so, each act of release becomes an act of faith that invites even greater abundance back into your life. Gratitude is often spoken of as a virtue, but when it comes to your financial life, it is much more than that. It is a magnet that quietly draws greater and greater abundance into your experience. Each time you handle money, no matter how small the amount, you have the choice to meet it with silent resentment or with conscious appreciation. That choice becomes a creative act because gratitude carries a vibration that resonates deeply with the unseen forces shaping your reality. When you express genuine thanks for what you have, you tune your mind to the frequency of abundance, and this inner state naturally attracts more to be grateful for. Many people wait until they receive a large sum or experience a financial windfall to feel thankful. Yet the secret is to begin exactly where you are with what you have right now. When you receive even the smallest coin, whisper words of thanks. When you find unexpected change in your pocket, give thanks. When you pay a bill, pause and silently appreciate that you have the means to meet this obligation. Each act of gratitude, no matter how small, plants seeds that quietly grow into larger blessings. Over time, these seeds form a garden of abundance in your life, blooming in ways both seen and unseen. This practice may feel unnatural at first, especially if you are accustomed to seeing money as a source of stress or worry. But by making gratitude a deliberate habit, you begin to shift the emotional tone of your relationship with money. Instead of seeing what you lack, you begin to notice what you have, and this simple shift changes everything. Gratitude turns your focus from scarcity to sufficiency and then to surplus. In this way, your subconscious mind, which accepts and acts upon your repeated thoughts and words, begins to create circumstances that reflect this new belief in plenty. Think of gratitude as a silent blessing you place on every coin and note that passes through your hands. As you give money, you can say silently, "I am grateful for this money and for what it provides. May it bless everyone it touches and return to me increased." As you receive, say, "Thank you for this gift. I receive it with joy and gratitude." These words carry a power far beyond their sound. They are living affirmations that shape your experience. The money you touch seems to carry this blessing outward into the world, and the world responds by sending more blessings back. Gratitude also acts as a powerful antidote to fear and worry, which are among the greatest barriers to financial expansion. Fear contracts your energy, closes your mind to new possibilities, and blinds you to opportunities that might be right in front of you. Gratitude, on the other hand, opens your heart and mind, relaxes your nervous system, and creates a sense of trust that life will provide. When you are grateful, you become more receptive to intuitive nudges, ideas, and chances that might lead to greater prosperity. It becomes easier to see and seize these opportunities because your focus is no longer clouded by anxiety. Another subtle but profound effect of gratitude is that it elevates your giving. When you give out of duty or guilt, the energy is heavy, and what you send forth carries that heaviness. When you give from a place of joy and thankfulness for what you already have, the energy is light and expansive, and this vibration returns to you in kind. Over time, even your smallest acts of generosity become seeds of multiplication. This is not to say that gratitude is a quick trick or a transactional tool to get more. Its power comes from sincerity. You cannot force true gratitude, but you can practice it until it becomes your natural response. Each time you choose to appreciate rather than complain, to bless rather than resent, You shift your energy and strengthen your magnetic pull toward greater abundance. The beauty of gratitude is that it is always available to you. You do not need perfect circumstances or a large bank balance to begin. Start now exactly as you are with the money already in your life. Bless it, thank it, and trust that these small, quiet acts of appreciation are reshaping your financial destiny in ways you may not yet see. Over time, your outer world gently aligns with your inner thankfulness, and your wealth expands not by force, but by the gentle, consistent magnetism of a grateful heart. Fear of lack can appear suddenly and powerfully, especially when bills arrive, unexpected expenses come up, or when you look at your balance and feel it isn't enough. In those moments, it feels almost natural to let fear speak loudly inside your mind, whispering doubts, scarcity, and the worry that what you have will run out. But in truth, fear is only a learned response, a mental habit formed over years of conditioning. You do not have to let fear guide your financial life. Instead, you can meet it with words of faith, words that cancel out the fear and replace it with trust in the endless supply that exists beyond appearances. Every time fear about money rises, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads deeper into worry, tightening your mind and closing it off to the flow of abundance. The other path leads to faith, which keeps your mind open and creative, allowing you to see opportunities and solutions you might otherwise miss. The key to choosing the path of faith lies in speaking consciously. Words are tools of transformation. When spoken with conviction, they override old patterns rooted in fear and plant new beliefs that draw in prosperity. Consider what happens when fear silently circles your thoughts. Without words to guide your mind elsewhere, those fearful thoughts sink deeper, shaping your subconscious expectations. But when you speak words of faith, you actively interrupt the pattern. Instead of letting fear echo in your mind, you declare a new truth. My supply is limitless and flows to me now. I am always provided for. These words do more than comfort you in the moment. They send a clear message to your subconscious, instructing it to look for abundance rather than shortage. This practice is not about denying reality or pretending challenges do not exist. It is about choosing where to focus your creative power. The subconscious mind does not judge whether your words seem logical given your circumstances. It simply accepts repeated words and ideas as instructions to fulfill. By consciously choosing to affirm faith whenever fear appears, you train your mind to expect solutions, unexpected income, and divine guidance, even in times that seem uncertain. Over time, these words of faith become your natural response. Instead of reacting to a large bill with panic, you pause and say, "This is paid in full by divine substance. Money flows to me easily and endlessly." Instead of fearing that spending will leave you with less, you affirm, "There is always more from where this came from." Slowly, fear loses its power over you, replaced by a calm assurance that your life is connected to an infinite source. Replacing fear with faith also opens you to the subtle inspirations and intuitive nudges that often bring real, practical solutions. When your mind is clenched in fear, creativity shuts down, you see only obstacles. But when faith keeps your mind open, you become aware of possibilities you hadn't noticed before. A new opportunity, a forgotten resource, or an idea that turns into new income. In this way, your words of faith do not just soothe you emotionally. They shape your external world by guiding your choices and your attention toward abundance. Another powerful effect of canceling fear with faith is that it lifts the emotional heaviness often tied to money. Money then becomes something neutral, something you can direct rather than something that controls you. You stop seeing it as an unpredictable force and start to see it as energy that responds to your belief and intention. This shift frees you to think more generously, spend more peacefully, and receive more gratefully. The key is consistency. Fear may still visit, especially at first, but each time it appears, you meet it immediately with spoken faith. I am always cared for. My needs are always met. Abundance surrounds me. The repetition builds new neural pathways, turning faith from an effort into a habit. Over time, what began as deliberate practice becomes your instinctive way of thinking. When fear of lack tries to speak, let your words of faith speak louder. You are not ignoring challenges, but facing them with the strength of an inner truth. Your true source is not the money itself, but the boundless, creative substance of the universe that always finds ways to reach you. And so, by using your words to cancel fear and affirm faith, you keep your heart open, your mind creative, and your life in the steady flow of expanding abundance.